Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 3Ps and Games podcast. It's the first full episode in a long while, and today I said it's time to come here and just talk about some of the things that's been going on, news, and share my thoughts and opinions. And yeah, I've shared a couple of thoughts already on some of my YouTube videos. Yes, so I've been posting on YouTube now, so you can check that out. So thank you very much. Once again, this is the 3Ps and Game podcast, where I come here to discuss about the video game industry, say my thoughts and opinions, and just to give a couple of updates before I get into the happenings in the gaming industry. First of all, I have a YouTube channel that I've started posting videos to. I've posted about 3 videos in recent times, and I hope to make that a trend. My target this February is to see if I can post 30 videos. I was thinking of posting 50 videos, but the limited time of the day in the month, so I'm gunning for 30, which is still more than one a day. But I think I can post a couple of more videos, maybe 1 or 2 videos, 2 videos a day on good days, especially maybe towards the middle of the month. But let's wait and see. So welcome everyone, and let's begin. So to start off this episode, I'm not gonna talk too much. Just gonna go through some of the things I find important that have been happening in the video game industry. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you see I've made 2 previous videos. One on why Xbox is going third party, and talking about the video game industry overall. And there's been a lot of discussions, and I'll say a lot of feedback from customers online, and I said I really want to get deeper and say some nuances in a more longer video. I try to make my YouTube videos shorter, but since it's gonna be a full podcast / video, I wanted to see how stretch every nuance, see every little detail that comes to my head and point that out. So not much structure to this one, just a rambling sesh essentially, and yap sesh. So just gonna say a lot of things that come to my head as much as possible, and we go from there. Starting off, I'm sure everyone has heard that Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PS5, and a whole lot of comments, feedbacks, discussions. Many people have given their own opinions, and it's fine. I understand why people can be apprehensive and, I say, worried, but it's just one of those things. Everybody has different opinions about it, but I think for me, it's not a strange decision. Xbox has essentially outlined that this is the way they have to run their business, and I'm not gonna go through what I did in the video, but just to break it down once again, in a short version. From the bad launch of Xbox One, and people don't seem to understand that once you, for a software publisher / hardware platform owner, when your hardware has a terrible launch like that, a lot of things happen. So first thing is this low install base. Obviously, when you have a low install base, it brings down many things. Your first party games can sell well on there if you make them exclusives. Your third party games are not getting much sales there as well. You're not making enough revenue from the percentage you take from your third party sales and microtransactions and DLC sales, and it all spirals around, and your brand loses value, and it keeps going and going and going. And Xbox deciding to say, okay, how can we solve the situation? It's bad. We don't want to go to Sega third party level. Irony, they are there now, but how can we make that change? So of course, Phil went the route of disruption, and he's a very well experienced business person. He's very well experienced in the game industry, so he knows a lot of things. Who am I? I'm just just someone that into sales, but I won't say I have the wealth of experience that Phil and his team have. So I'm just saying what I think, and for me, one of the things I didn't personally like about that whole situation was when they started putting their games on PC. I honestly did not see the point of doing that. Now, immediately started doing that, first thing I said was, you're just devaluing the point of the hardware. Yeah, I know your hardware is not doing well, but are you telling people that there's no need to buy your hardware and just get a PC? A lot of people say, oh yeah, Microsoft is thinking big, but I'm like, end of the day, we've seen how the video game platform works, the video game business works, and we've seen how that's gone over the last couple of years. Disruption can happen, but your disruption needs to be successful for it to be recognized as something good. Disruption without success, as far as I'm concerned, is a waste of your time and everybody's time. So I was looking forward to the success. So I was not happy with the fact that putting games on PC, because someone will say, okay, why was I not happy? Because as someone that games primarily on consoles, I personally need whoever is competing with Sony and Nintendo should be at top of their game every time. I mean, people don't seem to understand this, but I always say that good competition always benefits the consumer. When someone has so much power of a platform, it always doesn't make sense. Apple and Google have too much power, and that's why they can do a lot of certain things. But Google still helps keep Apple in check, in as much as they have a certain level of power. But because, for example, in the US, for instance, Apple has a very high, I think over 90% market share in terms of the youth population in the US, for instance. So they can do a lot of things that a lot of companies will not be able to do. So that power, we need people to keep them in check, and that's why I always want to see Microsoft succeed. And I didn't think it was a good idea. I didn't think they were going to succeed. All the same, they moved on to doing PC port. They launched Game Pass, and I remember, the same thing that a lot of people said. I think it was Chris Drink. I remember him saying that Game Pass seems good. But just like when Steam launched, and Gabe Newell was saying, that Steam will help boost physical software sales and blah 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 blah. But eventually, Steam eventually killed physical software sales for the PC market, and everybody moved digital in the PC space. And Game Pass, as much as Phil Spencer would say, it boosts software sales, eventually Game Pass will start affecting software sales negatively. And initially when Game Pass launched, that was the same song. Game Pass is actually additive. It's seen it boost software sales, blah blah blah. But people always forget that it's initial launch of software, the marketing and hype behind it. Player word of mouth for those games initially drives sales numbers, because more people are playing those games, more people are talking about those games, more people are buying those games. Eventually, discussion, in my opinion, discussion about the games turn to discussion about how did you get to play the game, and eventually Game Pass becomes the dominant force. And then you realize people then say, okay, why did I buy the game? I could just wait for games to come on Game Pass. And that logic essentially trains consumer to value paying the $20, or at that time I think $10 every month to get the games they want, which compared to paying $60, the gap was huge. And that's another thing I had issues with the pricing. I think the pricing was fair, and for a start of a service, you get a good subscriber base, and then raise prices over time, like how Netflix and many people are doing. But I still felt that games are so expensive. Starting so low was not a good idea. But all in all, if they can't even get players at that low pricing, it's gonna be difficult at higher prices anyway. So that's just some of the things I know that they think through before they set their prices and whatnot. End of the day, Game Pass affected sales long run, and everyone was looking. I personally was looking towards the Xbox Series X and X launch to fix all those challenges with the Game Pass and everything. Because my thinking was Xbox Series X is coming out. Xbox Series X is a good way to also break into the market. So my thinking then was, PlayStation and Nintendo one generation essentially. As Phil said, many people have built their digital libraries on those systems, and Xbox lost the generation that they shouldn't have lost. The time when people were really getting into digital games. So a lot of people have games on PSN, on eShop, I'm here as well. So a good example. So I won't abandon those same systems so quickly because I've invested money into building up my digital library, which feel was right. So it was not wrong on that. But I was thinking that, with the Series S and the Series X, Series X will appeal to the core hardware Xbox fans, those that bought the Xbox 360 that loved it, those that bought the Xbox One as well that loved it, will appeal to those guys, and will bring maybe some Xbox 360 fans back, whatnot, and then you have the Series S, which would be the, would I say, secondary console or entry level console or Game Pass console for those customers that maybe have a PlayStation or have a Nintendo Switch, but don't want to shell out $500 for the Xbox Series S, but want to be able to get games on Game Pass. The Series S is the perfect console for that. And I was expecting that with that combination, they will see massive hardware performance. They may not win the console generation. It's not going to happen because Sony has more global dominance across, I think, over 150 countries thereabouts, and good marketing and whatnot. So Sony probably would beat them still. Nintendo, being Nintendo, handheld will sell well in Japan and other countries. So they may not win in terms of sales numbers. And it's not like a handheld like the Switch that has different iterations and people buy multiple hardware iterations of that. They may not sell the hardware they need to sell, but at least they can take some share from Sony and Nintendo if they go that way, and they can be the additive console and add value added benefits to those that have those consoles already. That was my thinking, and based on the strategy that Phil communicated, that was the thinking I got. Now, the startup generation was good. Game Pass was growing, hardware was growing, and everything looked okay. And then 2021 hits, and the software lineup was not so good. And even though hardware was great and things were going, the problem I added in one of my podcast episodes is broken promises. Microsoft breaks a lot of promises. Halo Infinite did not launch well, and didn't come and launch first. And when it came, didn't launch well. People did not like what they saw. Many things, and they just keep breaking promises, and the thing just keeps following them. And then 2021 came. It was an okay year in terms of releases. I was happy with their release schedule. Then 2022 came, and it was an utter disaster. A whole year went by and not a single big game, like dry year. And for a service provider, a subscription provider, you that are trying to capture market share, you can't be losing your game. Like, it was a terrible year, and as far as I'm concerned, a failure of strategy, a failure of release planning or whatever, because a whole year went by, and essentially that, as far as I'm concerned, that year killed any prospect of Xbox hardware surviving. And people say, oh wow, just a year. Video games are very content driven. If a year goes by and you don't have many things to satisfy your gamers, your hardware sales are going to drop off the cliff. It's normal. Nintendo understands that, Sony understands that you need regular games to ensure there's a lot of interest and love for your hardware. You went a whole year without having anything Xbox related. No reason to people to get an Xbox. Essentially, 2023 also a rough year as well. Yes, you had Hi-Fi Rush, but what else happened? You had Redfall, bad release. You had Starfield, which really did not need to move the needle. It was mixed reviews essentially, and it didn't really change much in terms of subscription numbers. So that it gets to a dilemma. What are you going to do? And those 2 years, kept seeing hardware decline, and all in all this in the background, you have influencers saying, "Oh, hardware sales doesn't matter." I've never. I just remember those comments. Xbox doesn't care about hardware sales. Hardware sales doesn't matter. I just go back and think about those comments. Like, what were people really thinking? Of course, hardware sales matter. I keep saying this and I say it again. Where were you expecting the Game Pass subscribers to come from? Like, there's no miracle about Game Pass subscribers. Game Pass subscribers are not going to come from the air. Like, we've seen PC growth. Are you expecting all the Game Pass subscribers to come from PC? It's not possible. If your console is declining, it's going to be hard for your Game Pass subscribers to rise. It's difficult. because we expect that as more your console has seen growth, you get more and more subscribers from your console sales. But console is declining. There's a high chance that you're not gonna get an increase in Game Pass subscribers, or at least the rate of increase will be slow, not as you expect. And they have ambitious target. They want to get to 100 million subscribers by 2030, which means from their current number, they have to be doing about 40% every year for next 5 years or whatever. It's a difficult ask, but at that time, we didn't even know they were going to get to 100 million. But we didn't get updates for Game Pass numbers for years, and it was obvious that there's something wrong. You're not updating us, you're not sharing milestones. There's something wrong. Your hardware is declining. At that time, your cloud mobile strategy was obviously going nowhere because we had various restrictions for mobiles. You're still putting things in beta, so it was obviously not going anywhere. So where were your Game Pass going to come from? Console. And you have a lot of influencers saying, "Oh, console sales don't matter. Xbox is looking at different things. Xbox is all about Game Pass. Everything that Xbox is doing is all about Game Pass." And when you keep repeating what I feel is just Microsoft PR points that Microsoft has just shared to those influencers, it can be very annoying. And I was very annoyed a lot of times because it was obvious that this is just PR talk. You can't say hardware does not matter. Hardware always matters. Hardware will matter until it doesn't. And at this point, when you have no other way to get Game Pass subscribers from console and PC, hardware matters a lot. And the only reason why Xbox cannot abandon hardware now is also because of Game Pass. Like it's very difficult for people to say hardware does not matter. Strangest thing ever at that point. But I rant, and then I remember all those period. I remember a lot of the comments Phil made, everyone just talking that everybody should be fine, that you shouldn't worry about the console declines, Xbox doesn't matter. Like, these things matter. If you're not seeing console growth, you're not seeing Game Pass growth. I've said these things every time, but it was very strange to see the downplaying of a clear issue. I understand, every company has to have PR, but I don't expect influencers to do the same PR stuff that the company is doing. Like, I remember during the Wii U period for Nintendo, I remember how they will ask Reggie several questions. And Reggie gave a diplomatic sales, dodging the question answer. We never really give a clear answer about the Wii U's performance, or we use or Nintendo's performance or whatnot. But it will never say something didn't matter, or it will just give roundabout answers, and that's what I expect. But making clear statement that we're focused on Game Pass. How can you focus on Game Pass when your hardware is declining and where you're supposed to get Game Pass growth? How you say it doesn't matter? I don't get it. But anyway, all those won't happen, and we know what happened eventually. Got the Game Pass numbers, nothing impressive there. Clear sign that it wasn't going well. Probably a decline. We don't know. They didn't give regular updates on the numbers, but based on analysts have said, Game Pass numbers actually declined, and you're not really seeing so much growth as expected. Even the last earnings call that Satya Nadella announced, he announced that they had a 30% growth in PC Game Pass. And when CEOs use specific language like that, it's always clear. It's 30% growth in PC Game Pass. What's the growth in Game Pass overall? We don't know. It's a problem. If you have 30% growth in PC Game Pass compared to the same quarter last year, what happened to the total Game Pass growth? For me, I expected that it would we have 30% growth in PC Game Pass and 10% growth overall or whatever, but no update on that. And to me, that's a clear sign that there's maybe there's some things that are missing that we are not getting. But overall, when the Xbox Series X and S hardware started declining, I was worried that things are going to get dicey. And things did get dicey, and things have been dicey, and people don't seem to understand that. In Europe, as far as I've heard from analysts there, and from some of those like Chris Jean on the Game Industry Based podcast before he left, he used to say, that Xbox is, looking dead in Europe. And I know various antidotes on Reddit and social media of, empty shelves without Xboxes, difficulty getting Xbox in certain countries in Europe, and I think it was last year's GDC. Some developers made a comment like, they are confused, and or they are, not sure why they still put product games on Xbox because the returns are so small for the effort they go through at times. And the fact that if you're not on Game Pass, Game Pass can affect the sales, can maybe help you boost your sales or help you get players to play your game, and therefore you get able to cover your costs and get some profit. Or if you're not on Game Pass, you get left behind because players are not touching your game because they only want to touch what is on Game Pass. The whole thing has advantages and disadvantages, so you can't say it's positive or negative. But developers then were questioning the value of putting games on Xbox, and when you start having comments like that, it just means that it's a challenge, because it just simply means that if the developers are losing confidence, the developers are feeling they can skip your platform and it won't affect their overall sales. It just means you're losing value, brand value, as much as possible. So it didn't surprise me when they announced that you're bringing Doom Dark Ages to PS5, and it just seems like they're going to be bringing more and more games to PlayStation early this year. Late last year, I was pretty pissed off when they announced when they announced Hi-Fi Rush 4 game, because I knew that when you start doing that, further reducing the brand value of your hardware and just making things difficult. I understand you need to make returns to business and need to be profitable, but I just felt with 2 years, 2020 2023, and several years during the Xbox One generation, where players wanted a steady lineup of Xbox games and they didn't get it, and now it's looking like they will get it. You suddenly want to start putting all those games other platforms. And to me, it just didn't make sense. It just felt that I get it that the business, but broken promises as well, man. And then you said, only 4 games, and only 4 games turned to 5, turned to 6, turned to 7, and like why make promises you can't keep? Why make statements that you can't defend months later? Statement that are not really true, because I'm sure Phil and the other guys knew that other games were coming early this year. I don't think they made that decision after February, but it is what it is. But I just feel that period, just clear sign that this year was a clear sign that they're moving away. They moved away from whatever traditional they're doing. They just have to, by all means, put out their games on PlayStation and other platforms to get that money that they need, because they need to recover costs. They spent a lot of money acquiring Bethesda, acquiring Activision. One of the things that I didn't talk about, I forgot, is the fact that they spent so much money making acquisitions, in the hope that, which I thought the hope was to build this firm and superior Game Pass library, which they're still doing, but to keep a couple of things exclusive. The whole content thing is just strange. Your players suffer for years, and when they think they're about to get the benefits, they actually get to see the games go elsewhere. And I understand that with console war talk, but I someone as I'm looking at limited funds, if I was in their position and had the option to buy a Series X or PS5, based on the promise I had of Game Pass, an exclusive game coming to Game Pass, blah 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 blah, and I picked an Xbox, whatever, I'll probably be pissed now that why didn't I just get a PS5? Because I could have gotten a PS5, I could have been getting Xbox games and getting all the PS games that I could not. The God of War Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Stellar Blade, many things. So I'm missing out while I'm stuck here with the promise of exclusive that I don't have. And some may say, okay, this Xbox quick resume and other things in the grand scheme of things don't really make it, like those things don't really make a difference in what you pick hardware for. Unless it's revolutionary, something like maybe something like DVD in PS2, something revolutionary, something like a paradigm shift in terms of hardware inclusion that will make people flock to the hardware regardless. But quick resume, cloud saves, come on now. I think people rather pay for cloud saves on PS Plus than they go for Xbox. Honestly, like I don't know, because you have to pay for Game Pass anyway to really enjoy Xbox. So I don't get it, and those things that are being outlined are not enough. Are not enough. You know what is enough? It's content, it's games. Those are the things that really drive the player. Those are the things that drive hardware sales. Those are the things that drive engagement. And just to talk about the industry as a whole, yes, we know that competing with the juggernaut of the live service games is difficult. But if you're going to be taking players away from those live service games, you have to be bringing in good content, great content, to ensure that they're having fun when they do leave those games to come and play in your system, in your single player games or other games. I think Xbox didn't have that for a long time, and now they're about to have that. It's just sad that they have to make enough money as much as possible to compensate for everything that happened, because people don't understand. Xbox Series X, S and S is not doing well. Low install base. Third parties are saying they can skip Xbox without any repercussion. Delay games, launch months later without repercussions. It doesn't seem to hurt them. Capcom can skip Xbox entirely for some smaller releases, because how much they're really going to make from Xbox. You understand? Then you start noticing that the low install base, if Xbox release games, because people are not buying games because they're used to getting games on Game Pass, those games will have low sales, and Game Pass and the Game Pass pricing may not be able to cover up the development cost for all the games across everything, all the money they spend across gaming and whatever. So even if they're making revenue, how profitable is it across the board? Those kind of things are difficult to understand, and hardware is still declining. If you are losing money there, so you just see that your gaming revenue is declining. And I want to know, if your gaming revenue is declining, you just spent 70 billion. Why? Is your gaming revenue declining? So those are some of those questions they'll be asking them, and how can they make the most money in the long run? And how to make the most money in the long run is to put their games everywhere. They are the second biggest publisher in the world, second or third, depending on how you want to rank it. They can make a good amount of money from putting their games on every platform, and they should put their games on every platform. But yeah, the industry is a funny place. Looking forward to some news on Switch 2 coming up soon. Yeah, I think I did a video talking about the Switch 2 also on YouTube. But I'm looking forward to seeing Nintendo's fiscal year earnings release. Third quarter Q3 fiscal year 25 earnings release. Probably going to be about a couple of hours from now. I'll probably be asleep when it comes out. Japanese time. I don't have time to be awake for that. So we'll wake up and probably do a video on that afterwards. But it's been fun chatting. It's been fun recording this episode. So thank you very much. I hope you continue to listen to the 3Ps and Game podcast. I'm going to be trying some different recording styles and different ways of recording going forward. I hope you enjoy this episode. So please don't forget to, if you have any comments, if any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you need me to join, if you want me to join any podcasts, channel, have other guests, I would love to partner with anyone, in terms of, discussing games on a weekly basis. Thank you very much.